Welcome to our second level of our 5-part series on relieving our low back pain. Just as a reminder, this series of 5 parts is meant to create over time an entire yoga therapy protocol for you to use anytime your back starts to give you trouble or to help rehabilitate any injury in the low back. So make sure you're checking with your doctor if you're working with one and making sure that these movements are safe for your body. So if you haven't already checked out level 1, make sure you go back and you start there with those exercises. When those become easy for you, then it's time to add on the next 3 moves that we're going to talk about here in level 2. So let's get started. Okay, so getting ready for our first exercise. When it has to do with low back pain, I hate to break it to you guys, but you have to build core strength. And I'm talking really deep core strength. So one of the first ways we're able to do this very safely with minimal movement is through our plank poses. The reason I'm stressing to use minimal movement, especially in the beginning of your journey to core strength, is it's safer for the rest of the body. Because what happens when we have less core strength is that when we go to do different movements, the body is going to pull strength from other muscles. And odds are what has happened in your low back has to do a bit with the lack of core strength. And so as you're sitting up or as you're lifting things, the strength is starting to pull from the muscles in the low back, which starts to put strain and tension, then compressing the vertebrae. So we want to come to first our plank pose, and we've got Christine here to help us out. So Christine, if you wouldn't mind to roll over the ankles and come to your forearms for forearm plank. Now what's important here is the alignment of the elbows and the wrist. So Christine, your elbows are a little wide. Let's bring them a little more narrow right underneath the shoulders. And you see how that's stacking elbows just above the shoulders. Now, we don't want the head to hang here. She wants to keep it in line with the neck, like she's pressing into my hand. You see how that lengthens the spine? And the hips are in line with the shoulders, reaching out from the heels through the crown of the head. We want to hold this posture for 90 seconds. Now in the beginning, that's going to feel rather impossible, so you're going to take it in different rounds. You'll hold it for as long as you can, then come to rest, maybe even taking a child's pose. Actually, no child's pose with low back pain, so take the knees to the floor and sit up in a hero's pose. So if you need to take rest, you can take rest here in hero's pose, breathing until you develop more stability in your breath. And when you're ready, coming back to the forearm plank to finish your 90 seconds. Now, once you've graduated to a point where you can hold this for a full 90 seconds, then it's time to add on the side plank. With that, you're going to firm through the hands and the forearm, pressing into the forearms, like you're pressing into my hand at the center of the back. So you see how her chest is, her back is pressing into my hand. Now, use that same stability to open the chest towards the camera, roll onto the sides of the foot, and keep the hips lifting up. The hand can come straight up, and you can gaze to this thumb if it's healthy for your neck. If that feels funny, you can gaze down to the floor. But all the while, lifting the hips. You can come out of this now, Christine, but the same rules apply in our side plank. We ultimately want to get to be able to do 90 seconds of side plank on each side without stopping. So it may be that you need to hold it for 20 seconds, come to your hero's pose to breathe and relax, and when you're ready, continue until you've reached 90 seconds. Again, you want to take that on both sides. Be very mindful of that alignment of the elbow and the wrist, and also very mindful that you're pressing into the earth to lift the chest and the hips. Now let's move on to our second exercise. All right, so just as a reminder about that first move, you want to make sure that you're holding each plank for a full 90 seconds, whether you have to break that up or you can do it all together. Either way, even if you're breaking it up, you want to move on to the second move, which is going to be Ardha Uttanasana, so half wind reliever pose. First things first, we want to make sure that the alignment of our legs is on point. So look at her feet. See how they're externally rotating out to the sides? We want to first be aware of the integrity of the alignment here. So second toes pointed straight towards the sky, flexing the feet, pressing energy out through the heels, And then noticing the pinky toes, if they're curving in, make sure that the pinky toe is coming in line with the rest of the foot, right? So first things first, we've got that alignment. So the straight leg is going to stay like this, pressing energy through the heel, keeping the second toe pointed straight towards the sky, so that the knee, shin, and second toe are all in one straight line, helping to improve our alignment. Now she can take this right knee and bring it in towards the chest and give it a nice squeeze. So you're trying to draw the knee as high up into the chest as you can while reaching through the foot. Now notice what happened. The higher up her knee went, her foot wanted to roll out. So try to combat that by keeping it straight up and pressing through the heel. So it's this action of lengthening the straight leg and drawing up the bent knee that you'll start to feel that relief in the low back. On an inhalation, she can take her arms back behind the head as she extends this leg straight. And on an exhalation, drawing the opposite knee to the chest, squeezing that knee in, and being mindful of this foot. So drawing the pinky toes back and keeping that alignment. So let's show that transition one more time, taking the arms back. And then on an exhale, bending the knee in. So as you first get started with the move, depending on how stiff the low back is, this might be enough for you. If this feels great and you don't quite feel like you're at your edge, what you're gonna do is make it a more full expression of Ardha Uttanasana, which is to bring the forehead to the knee. So let's try it one more time, only this time, as she brings the knee to the chest, she's also gonna lift the head and shoulders, drawing the forehead to the knee, making that compression a little bit more intense. So let's try that. Again, being mindful of the alignment of that outside leg. We can bend the right knee, bringing it in towards the chest, grab that knee, and on an exhalation, round the forehead towards the knee. Yes, and on the inhale, taking the arms back, straightening the leg, lengthening here, and then on the exhalation, drawing in the other, yes, and drawing forehead to the knee. Yes. Now, as this becomes more comfortable, let's take it again. As the body starts to open, it becomes more comfortable. The next stage here, let's bring this right knee in, will be to, instead of grabbing the shin, for her to grab the heel. So let's see where her body is today. Yes, grabbing the heel, not the foot. So the heel down below, yes, and drawing the heel in. So it will intensify the stretch even more and taking rounds this way. So you can come back to center. So once again, just to recap, this exercise can be done in 3 stages. Just the knee into the chest. Second stage is knee into the chest, adding the forehead towards the knee. And then the third stage, adding the forehead towards the knee, but grabbing the heel to intensify that low back relief. So you take it in whatever stage your body is ready for, and then we move on to the next exercise. For this, I would suggest, if you're taking all 3 stages, that you start with the first one for a couple rounds just to warm up, then move on to the second one, then finally to the third one. You want at least 10 on each side. If you have already good flexibility, you can simply start with the 3rd level and take all 10 at that level. So you experiment in your body and see what feels best, and know that every day the body is different, so you can play around with that. All right, with that knowledge, let's move on to the 3rd and final exercise of level 2. Okay, so ready for the 3rd and final exercise of level 2. We're gonna come to a bridge pose, but a little bit of a modified bridge pose, or Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. So taking the soles of the feet to the floor, bending the knees. You wanna make sure that you're rooting through all 3 corners of the feet. So if you're not sure what that means, check out our video on the foundations of the feet. From here, what's important is that we want to lift the hips to be in line with the knees. So as you do this, you should no longer be able to see your knees. Like your hips should come up so high that when you look forward, you don't see your kneecaps anymore. So that's the first thing. Second is, as you lift up, you want to make sure the ankles are aligned right underneath the knee. And thirdly, this modification is going to involve a little bit of extra support from the hands. So Christine, go ahead and take your hands alongside the body, palms facing the earth. Now the hands can become part of our foundation. So our foundation is where we're pressing our weight. So in yoga, we're rooting to rise. So here we're going to root into our hands and our feet, even into the shoulder blades, as we inhale, lifting the hips up, 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 as high as you possibly can. So Christine, take a look, and if you can see your knees, lift the hips even higher. Yes, that's the stuff. And you can see her ankles are rooted right underneath the knees. On the exhalation, draw the tailbone forward as you lower each vertebrae one by one, starting with the thoracic spine, starting with the middle back. So tucking the tailbone forward, just like in our pelvic tilts, and lowering down. So you can start to see how these movements will start to stack on one another. So let's show again. Inhale, press and lift up. And then self-adjust here, you guys. Take a look. Can I see my kneecaps? If so, it's time to lift the hips a little higher, get a little more lift. And on your exhalation, draw the tailbone towards the front and start to lower down so slow you can count those vertebrae one by one, sending them to the floor, reaching out through the knees. And taking this movement at least 10 times, working your way up to 3 sets of 10. And this is the end of our level 2 moves. And so once these exercises become easier for you, you're able to do all the exercises to their full fruition, then it's time to start level 3.